today, very quick, I'm just going to practice some drawing people. And this is just a random practice. Maybe I don't know, maybe see if I can maybe I want to make somebody rushing down somewhere, connecting the clutter home. First thing I really want to do is imagine what pose they're doing. And if you're not good at imagining the entire pose, just imagine like a stick figure. That's a place to start. And after that, you can imagine basic forms after you get better at imagining stick figures. And then you add in perspective. So if I simplify all the parts of the body to like blocks, because drawing a human figure is kind of complex. So if you can simplify it into simpler shapes, it gets a lot easier. So all I'm doing right now is just doing simple shapes and thinking about my proportions, like how wide, how long to how deep something is, according to the perspective I'm looking at. So what if I wanted to make like somebody swimming around, right? And let's see, I'm still thinking about the pose. After I get these basic parts down, right now it's very light, but I'm going to darken it a little bit. This is a box for like the pelvis. This is the box for the upper torso. Hopefully you can see that a little better. But I'm doing this light because I'm just thinking about the pose that I'm going to make. And it's always good to just start with basic shapes. And imagine your pose first. So I'm thinking maybe I could have this person like about to kick the door down there. I don't know. That's a little too. Maybe he hasn't already. Maybe his knee's gonna come up here. His other leg is up here. Maybe he's about to do a back kick. That sounds better. So for that, I would say let's start making this a little bit darker. But I'm still in the stage where I'm trying to figure stuff out and figure out the pose because this is from imagination. And I want to really start off with a good skeleton, basically, good foundation, so that everything goes smoothly afterwards and I'm not erasing most of the time. So perhaps I could have him holding maybe this could be his arm. His elbow. And this is his leg over here. And now I'm gonna see this is his head, right? So it has to be proportional to his torso. Usually from your clavicle, which is your shoulder bone, to your 10th rib, the bottom of your rib cage is going to be the same height to the top of your head. So you see if I move this here, the top of my head is way too long. This is the length of my rib cage from here to here, you see? And I got that from looking at this. this box. So this is too tall. That's how I am controlling my proportions. So anybody else who's drawing, like you have to really think about your proportions, because if you're doing this from imagination, how do you know what you're doing is correct? Well, you have to go back to your basics and think about your basics first, which is what is the thing that you're drawing? If you're drawing a dog, the proportions are different than drawing a human. And once you know the subject that you're drawing, you really have to study their proportions, and you have to study perspective, so you know how to make these boxes. And that's probably going to take a lot of time to really get comfortable with perspective. That's why you should use a book called How to Draw by Scott Robinson, which has it's like your go-to source for getting better at perspective, and you use that knowledge on everything. A pencil, you can draw with that, a human being, everything. But a human being is far more complex. So you're gonna have to study more. So at this point, I have this person ready to back kick, but what is his other arm gonna do? To make this more entertaining, I'm just not gonna think about the other arm right now, because there's someone watching. So in that case, I'm just gonna try and make this more entertaining as it is here. I want to make his face expressive. You can make somebody's face expressive with the eyebrows. Obviously at this point he's kind of angry. Extend the chin, so he's now yelling, which is like a standard comic book. But face. Everybody's like always angry, but our person could just be training. Let's make him kicking a punching bag or something. You don't have to be angry at the world all the time, like in a lot of comics and movies and stuff. But you could hype while you're training, working out, getting your cardio in and stuff, on your boxing skills. That's what this guy's doing here. So at this point, I'll make him look in the direction of his kick. So I'll just make his pupils looking this way. You see? Now, what's happening too is that I'm looking at this thing is flipped, So right now this is my right hand, but it looks like my left hand. So that means that my drawing is going to look kind of whack. Well, this also helps because artists in the past used a mirror to view their image flipped horizontally to spot any problems. I can just look at what I'm streaming to fix any problems. All right, so this is the sternocleidomastoid right here, very strong and evident muscle when you turn your head. It's a big name. So now I have my person here. I have the clavicle coming this way, which is a collarbone. I have the deltoid, which is the shoulder bone. Okay? And then I have the teres major coming out the back, connected to the scapula, which is the shoulder bone too. It's like the scapula is that bone in the back that all these shoulder muscles are connected to. And this rolls to the front, and so does the latissimus dorsi, which is here. So you see all that planning that I did earlier, now it's going to help me, because at this stage I can now just kind of free flow, and this can be far more interesting to watch. his I gotta give that a little bit more of a. Now, here, his leg, I want to make his leg coming in front of his elbow. And he's just ready to kick. So how do you make something look like it's going to be ready to like just like spring back, you know? I want to make this look, his leg, I want to make it look very like like ready for action, ready to just fly out, right? And I'm going to think about the perspective of his shoe because shoes and feet are kind of tough. I'm going to think about first as a bottom plane, and I'll build out from that. Ant right there. Sorry guys. Sorry, ant two. And build it out like this. So this will give me some idea. Maybe you can have some like hiking boots or something like that. So now he's ready to kick. And hopefully it looks more springy. And now you can see this person like ready to kick someone in the back. I mean, whoever's behind him, or sorry, we said a punching bag. So we can have a punching bag just hanging here. And maybe it's been like hit a lot. So it's like tattered and stuff in places. I hold this on the side, I can get some very nice broad strokes, very quick, and I'm pushing it down with my finger. Now this is a cylinder, so you see what I did? I'm just making a portion, and I'm going to try to make this consistent to the lighting scheme. So now this looks very much like a cylinder. Okay, that's what I got here. The legs are like cylinders. So now I have his arm. Then this is the bicep in the front, which you can't see that much of. Tricep head goes in above the teres major and under the teres minor, if I'm not wrong. There's a long head and a short head on the triceps, but because the arm is extended, the tricep should not be flexed like it shouldn't be like contracted. Bicep should be contracted. So what I do is I want to make this a little bit lower to show that this is not contracted. And muscles in the body go from thick to thin. You know, they're going to get thinner. Everything goes from thick to thin. Like your shoulder is bigger, then it should get thinner and thinner as you, for instance, get to the wrist. You know, I made it from thinner to thicker, but you know what? You can take some liberties as an artist. Okay. Now, I got some shading in the head. And he's practicing his kicks. And here I could really show some of the folds wrapping around the form. Okay? Because any chance you get, you want to show the three-dimensionality of whatever it is you're drawing. If, since this is a flat paper, artists are basically like magicians. You have to make what you're drawing look three-dimensional. You have to make things overlap. When something overlaps, you make it darker. Because deltoid is overlapping the tricep, I'll make it darker. And I'll make the line from the tricep lighter, you see? And if the teres minor is overlapping, I'll make that line lighter. If the teres major is overlapping, I'll make it darker and lighter, and so on. And the highest one gets the darkest line. And there's also the brachialis and the brachioradialis. And the extensors. Now, how should his arm look as he's coming into that? Like, how, what? Now, the thing is, the face is very expressive. A human being looks at the face, and a human being looks at the hands. So these things are extremely expressive parts of a person. So you have to really focus on those parts. Like, I just did this too quick, but I should have thought about what he's going to be doing. Maybe I could make him like really angry, so his thumb and fingers are like a claw almost, like that. Okay, like maybe like he's just angry and he's just practicing. Okay, so in his other hands and fingers, now I have to think about the perspective too, and proportion. Remember those two things. Those are my major allies and my major foes. Because if they're wrong, man, everything just goes down the drain. When drawing from imagination, you're really in that. Those are just some tendons of the thumb, and you see those tendons right there. But you gotta think about those two things all the time. If you mess up, they're your foes. If you're constantly vigilant, thinking about them, they're your friends. So proportion and perspective. I want this arm to come out. Like, how about this finger? How about this finger? Well, I can make it go in. I can make this finger go in as well. A little bit. Maybe make it come out. This one is not coming as clean. Never take too thin in terms of width and narrowing proportions. Well, that's happening here too on the fingers. You see, it gets thicker at the base and thinner at the knuckle. But interestingly, the knuckle can get thicker too again. So then it gets thinner once more. So now he's kind of like has his hands like in a claw kind of position. Everything is good except the index finger, which looks broken. Again, my perspective is off. My proportions could have been right there, but my perspective was off. Let's keep it at this one, okay? That looks a lot better. All right? And now, well, I'm on 19 minutes. It's not a long time. Let's continue. Let's try and finish this quicker. This is a Prismacolor Premier pencil. It's used by everybody, even Loomis. But I'm using the blue version. I recommend the black one. But it depends on what you're doing, you know. Thomas Fluharty, he's like a really awesome artist. He loves the blue as well. Just depends what you want to do. Sometimes I feel like while I'm drawing and doing this stuff, I feel like I'm starting to sound like uh, Bob Ross. Maybe he should have been kicking a happy tree. Let's put a happy tree on this, like happy little tree. Just a happy little tree. This could be his dojo. Simple. Whoa. Happy tree. That could be the fighting style. Happy tree fighting style. Okay. Hope you guys like that Bob Ross reference. All right, and then thinking 3D. So that's how I know to shape the bottom of his leg. If I was not thinking 3D, I'd have trouble. Okay, because then I wouldn't know where to put darker colors. And I'm going to maintain that here because this is the bottom of his leg too. See? So a lot of your shading and everything else like that, it is going to come back to you, your perspective, which is like, you know, challenging. You just got to keep practicing. Well, this actually is practice for me. It's my daily practice. I do perspective and anatomy and car practice every day. Let me actually show you guys. One second, let me show you guys. So this is my perspective practice from a few days ago. My Instagram is Jamtron Art. Jamtron Art. So you can follow me there. But you see here the light lines. This is part of my daily practice for perspective. This is part of my daily practice for anatomy and stuff like that. Okay? But I try to practice everything every day and do it with a time limit. Actually, this would normally take me like much less time, but this is my first time streaming and trying to make sure everything is good. So, all right. So I'm basically saying the light is coming from here, from this direction, because this is lit. This is lit. The top part, it's whiter, right? And let me really punch in those darks, okay? And you're going to start to see 3D forms a lot better. As I'm doing that, I'm just rotating the pencil so it can have a even, the lead can be worn evenly so I don't have to waste the pencil, right? And at the same time, it's getting sharpened. Like, in a way, it's getting like, I'm keeping the tip sharp. Okay? And that's, Scott Robertson, I learned from him. He mentioned that he does it a lot. So, I just learned from the master. Scott Robertson is like one of my favorite art teachers. It's so cool. So his books, I would highly recommend them if you are trying to get better at art. All right. So now I told you in the beginning of this thing that so even the shadow shapes are part of your communication of the story. What's happening with this guy? Okay. So I want to throw some, like, make things look with your shadow shapes that tell the story. tell that story you're trying to say. So maybe make the mouth a little bit darker. Put some more contrast in that area so your eye goes here first. Keep this shadow shape looking like a triangle pointing up into his head, because I want you guys to look into his head and look at his face, you know? Just little things that are compositional elements that you really want to think about as you draw. Okay. Here we go. So this is my guy. He's got some jeans on. He's ready to kick. And he's just practicing his kicks. This is the serratus muscle because it looks like a serrated edge of a knife, for instance, and it intersects with the external oblique, which is here. I think I might make too many, but it's all good for now. Make too many fingers for these things. This part of his body is going to be in shadow, but I'm going to curve it to reinforce my shadow lines. I'm curving, making it follow the form to reinforce that it's a curved surface. Because I'm trying to sell the illusion that this indeed is three-dimensional, but reality is this is not three-dimensional, it's just a drawing on a flat piece of paper. So if anybody just joined, this is my Bob Ross representation right here. Because I was sounding like Bob Ross, and we made a happy little tree right there, getting kicked. If you guys remember Bob Ross, he just loved happy little trees, and that's in honor of Bob Ross. Tendons of the fingers, knuckles, and back. Everything is dynamic. And now, here, I can have this other arm. So I was avoiding it this whole time. Let me just throw this other arm like this. Like this. And I have to think about the proportions, remember? Your favorite friend. We don't want to become our enemy. Just keep him as our friend. This arm is way too big. But you know, I kept it this long. I'm just going to do that here. Maybe our character has some really long forearms. Let's just keep it, all right? Sometimes when you make an error, it could become something interesting about your character that sets them apart from other people, from other characters in the story. Well, this guy's like a happy guy. He just, that's why his martial arts style is the happy tree. All right, he's a happy guy, but he doesn't skip training day. So he's like, keeps himself in shape and strong mentally and physically. You have to be good people, but also be, I guess, strong and healthy. Take care of yourself. stuff like that. You can still be happy if you're like a world-class fighter and a nice person. Maybe his other hand could be totally weird. It's just like another claw kind of thing. It's totally expressive because we talked about how expressive hands are. Okay? So this is his other hand here. Look at that expressiveness of this other hand. It's got the same claws. And I gotta make sure that I don't make this hand longer than this one. So by looking at the palm to the first knuckle of the pinky, it's that big. But looking at this one, it's like huge, you know? So this is way too large. So you see how you double check yourself with proportions? Make sure proportion is your friend. And perspective is your friend, not your enemy. Every time you're drawing, every mark you put down has to be consistent with the previous marks. See how I fixed that? That length of that pinky. Right? So you have to do the same thing whenever you're drawing from imagination. You have to keep things legit, like consistent. This one was actually too small. I'm gonna try and figure this out and imagine where his other finger is going to be first. It should be a little longer. This. A little bit longer. Let's just leave it at that for now. There's a lot to fix there. Making it more like threatening because he's just make it a little bit sharper. That was a fail. And the reason is because these fingers are separated, these fingers are all together. Well, you know what? Why don't I just make them have some kind of like a tiger palm or something like that? It's not really a tiger palm, but some kind of like a palm, like a bone, like some kind of. This will fix it. This will fix all my problems. Cool. There we go. All right. I hope you guys like this. Hi to the person who's here. This is basically my anatomy practice for today. And I'm going to be on my Instagram at Jamtron. There's an and art. And I'm going to do another live video there about something else. It's probably going to be finishing that car, that Nissan Skyline GTR. Okay, I hope you like this, and have a great night or a great day, wherever you are. Peace.